You are listening to Been There, Done That. We present some of the smartest people connected to the business of coffee. People who've succeeded in the tough grind of hospitality by staying ahead of the rest. So join us as we explore the secrets to their success and help you accelerate your business. This show is brought to you by the Coffee Commune, where the coffee community comes to collaborate. Enjoy the show.
Hi everybody, this is Phil DeBella and we have another episode of Been There and Done That, brought to you by the Coffee Commune, and it's Business Performance Quarter. We're talking all things business performance, and of course in the spirit of Been There and Done That, we only want people on the show that are experts in what they do. Today I've got an amazing expert that's been in the industry for over 22 years, and I'll introduce Rhian in a minute and get him to tell us a bit about himself. But before I do that, business performance, what we want to really hone in on today is about costs, especially CapEx costs. So we'll break it up into two. We'll talk about equipment and CapEx costs and some tips and tricks there from an industry expert of where you can save some money. But then also about surrounding yourself with the right people that can provide the right consultancy. So that's what we're going to cover today. What comes out the bottom of the funnel is we want to help you perform better in business. We want to help you accelerate your potential. That's our aim. That's our motto. That's our purpose here at the Coffee Commune. And of course, Been There, Done That is all about bringing amazing information, wealth of wisdom from people that are brilliant and have earned their stripes. So without further ado, I introduce Rhian Shellshear from Italian Gelato Concepts. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. Your expertise, your wisdom, no doubt, is going to help a lot of people. Commercial operations manager at Italian Gelato Concepts, over 22 years in the industry, and you've worked for some great brands that the listeners will know about. I'm not going to sing your praises. I mean, apart from saying you're an industry expert, you tell us, firstly, a bit of where you've worked and when you mentioned before, but what you're doing now at Italian Gelato Concepts, and then we'll get in a bit of a discussion and deep dive into some things that can help our listeners.
Definitely, sounds good. So I started 22 years ago. I started off as a chef, very much like a lot of people did. Cut my teeth in working restaurant. Moved out and started working as an operations manager and starting to run a lot of facilities. So I was at Soul Breads, Adriano Zumbo, was recently at Couch, down at Howard Smith Wharfs, worked over in Sweden for 6 years, and I competed for Australia in the Coupe du Monde and also won the Bakery World Cup for Australia. So,
fantastic.
Yeah, a few little things along the way.
So you know your way around the kitchen and you know your sweets and stuff.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And now with Italian Gelato Concepts, tell us a bit about what you're doing there and what the business is all about.
Yeah, so I work as a commercial operations manager for Italian Gelato Concepts. We're an importer of equipment, specifically working with equipment out of Italy. My role within the business is dealing with, I guess, manufacturing other businesses and working in a space that works collaboratively. So looking at how both sides of the business can work together in a space where everyone kind of benefits from having a hand-in-hand relationship.
Yeah. And of course, so you've got the equipment and importing of equipment, and of course, Italians make great equipment along with the Germans. I'm not being biased there, but they do, especially around food, right?
No, definitely.
And then tell us a little bit about the consulting side, because you guys help customers, do a lot more than just obviously find the right equipment and import equipment.
Yeah, correct. So for a lot of businesses that come to us, apart from obviously them just looking at how do I get equipment, how do I start my business, we also help them with either it's recipe development, getting them to understand the structure, how to be compliant, whatever it may be within that space. We really give them the opportunity so that they can excel from the start, because there are a lot of loopholes and a lot of things you can fall into, especially the traps. And without understanding them, there's a lot of wasted money.
Yeah, and I really admire that, Rhian, because I tell you, we've got a lot of roasters in this country, right? And probably half of them shouldn't be coffee roasters, and I don't mean that badly. I mean it that they go and buy a roasting machine, and all of a sudden there's no qualifications and there's no, compliance, so to speak. So they buy the equipment and then just start to roast, and a lot of them, unfortunately, are going to fall over. Over the years they have, especially now when all the costs and everything have gone up. So I really admire what you guys are doing, because you're not just selling them the equipment, you're actually then supporting them by saying, hey, correct, this is the logistics, this is the recipe development, this is the know-how and knowledge. And the reason too, I'm not sure if you had a chance to have a look at our business paper that we did, the research paper that got released this year. And the number one problem was business skills. So the number one problem is not red tape. Red tape ranked around number 5. The number one problem that we saw was that we're living in a time right now where people don't actually know how to run their business. They haven't haven't seen these times, right? The last time we had bad times was on the back of GFC in 2010.
Yep.
They haven't seen bad times, they haven't seen tough times, and they just simply don't know whether it's the right equipment to choose or how to consolidate costs, which we're going to be talking about that soon.
Yep.
And more importantly, surround yourself with companies like yourself, like the Coffee Commune, that are providing consultancy and advice and support so that they save money. And that's important for listeners to really understand. That study showed us that number one right now is the lack of skills in how to operate a business. So dealing with someone like yourself at Italian Gelato Concepts is obviously not just about coming to you and making a one-off sale of selling an equipment. It's about that support mechanism, which I love. So guys, keep that in mind with any other equipment that you're looking at buying. Let's go, over the years, tell us in your words, Rhian, you've been in it 22 years, so you've seen the GFC, and then it was good times. Prior to COVID, 19,000 cafes across Australia, now 26,000 cafes. A big jump in my eyes, and I've been very vocal, too much supply, not enough demand. Yep. So we're going to see some closures and the rest of it. But what have you seen in let's say formidable changes over the years that are happening, the difference between then and now?
I think one of the biggest things is a lot of business owners fall into the trap that they've got to work in their business and not on their business. And a lot of the times working in your business doesn't give you the foresight to see what's in front of you to be able to actually capture those opportunities that are coming by. So being a business owner, it's probably the number one thing that's happened during COVID because of the cost of labour is so high now. A lot of guys are doing, well, I can't afford to have employees, so I'm going to be the employee myself. And so your business doesn't ever actually grow or move forward. Instead, you kind of stay in this stagnant pool. Yeah. And that's one of the biggest things I've noticed is one of the major shifts. Apart from, yes, ingredient costs are going up. Yes, there are things that keep pushing it. But at the same time, being an employee doesn't help your business to move forward either. Yeah,
you raise a good point, and that ties into what the study shows and the research shows is that we've got to get business owners to try and limit their costs or become, I say, more efficient with their costs so that it gets them out of the business and gets them back to working on the business. It really is important, for that, because otherwise you're not predicting, the next 12 months. You're not planning for the next 3 years. So tell us, again, through your experience, what are some of the common mistakes you're seeing right now with people, apart from the fact that people are still looking at opening a business in a flooded market? What are the common mistakes you're seeing right now?
Poor investment is probably one of the biggest ones. Like, especially being an equipment importer, we go through the stages and try and get people to understand the ROI of why you invest into certain equipment to allow you to actually get the outcome of the quality of the ingredient you're trying to sell to the customer. Everyone wants to scream that they've got quality and they're trying to give quality, but a lot of the times it's also dictated by not just the processes and the ingredients, but the type of equipment you utilize to get the quality out. And that's probably one of the biggest things I've seen is a lot of people do, well, I'm going to fail, so I may as well fail by buying cheap equipment. So there's already this predeposition in their mind, it's not going to work, which is the wrong way to look at it. If it's not going to work and you don't believe in it, then don't do it. Yeah. Just save yourself the heartache and time. Invest your money into marketing, invest into a space that will actually give you a better return than it is investing in equipment if you don't believe in it or understand it. That's where you probably need professional advice or professional help to get the idea of what am I doing and how do I capitalize on that section that you're trying to target to give you a better, broader knowledge and better, broader offering to your customer. Yeah. Because I think that's what most people are looking for now anyway.
Totally. So the key takeaway there is, obviously choose the right equipment for the right outcome and plan for success, not for failure. Correct. But if you can't afford it, then let's segue into it. If you can't afford it, what's your ideology and thoughts on shared kitchens or dark kitchens or whatever you want to, call it? There's all these myriads. I call them shared kitchens or co-working spaces. What's your thoughts on that?
I think dark kitchens are great for people to be able to test an idea. It gives you that ability that you can walk away. I think a lot of the times that people get scared about is that you invest in and then you're stuck. Yeah. And that's that burning hole in your pocket is the thing that normally forces people to go down quick decisions without thinking about what the outcome would be to be able to be successful. So I think dark kitchens definitely have their place. Yeah. They allow you to test a concept and idea without having to really fully expose yourself as a business. So I'm definitely for it. If you're new and you're getting into the industry and you're not quite sure about what your business model is and you want to make sure your business model is viable, then, make a business case, set it up, ensure you got the data to back it, test it. That's exactly the way I would do it. I'd test it to ensure there's a market for it.
Yeah, I love it. And so tell us, if somebody says, yeah, that's me, I've got an idea, where would they do it? Would they contact you?
We do training with people, definitely. We help them to try and find those spaces if people need them. One thing I did work on when I was overseas is we had a bit of a business idea when I was in Sweden where we came along, we took over other people's businesses, and we opened up the availability that when a business is closed, say on a Sunday or a Saturday night, we'd come in there and do a revamp and showcase a new ideology and a new concept that allow the business owner to segue into something they probably didn't think about. It also creates revenue for them because now they've got a dead space that they weren't using, that they're now collaborating with, say, a chef or someone who's out there wanting to push. So it's now they've turned their own kitchen basically into a dark kitchen.
Isn't it fantastic? Is that something you're doing here? Is that something somebody could reach out to you at Italian Gelato Concepts?
I'm sure we could easily build something like that. I've got enough networks in.
So if that's you and you're thinking about two things, if you're thinking about, hey, how can I utilise my kitchen better or make some rent money or extra pocket money or test a new idea, then get a hold of Rhian and the team there at Italian Gelato Concepts. But also, Rhian mentioned something really, really good that is one of the things we do here at the commune, is that if you're a startup, rather than going and invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into equipment that you're not sure about, you get to proof your concept by using this. Now, I got to travel with the Brisbane Lord Mayor at the time 15 years ago to Auckland, and the Lord Mayor in Auckland had set up what they called the food bowl, and it was simply an oversized dark kitchen on steroids. It was a $20 million facility over 15 years ago, and people could test sauces in there. They could test make even non-alcoholic beverages. They could make pastry items. They had all the equipment to do all this sort of stuff, gelato, the whole lot. And the whole concept there was that startup comes in with an idea, tests the market, starts as a sole operator, and when they got to a certain level, they then branch out and go do their own. Yep. So I'm a big fan of it because, I'll let you in on a little secret that's not so secret. The Coffee Commune, one of our operations in the roasting side of our business is exactly that, $20 million worth of equipment, roasters from small to massive, and we've now got 86 roasters working out of here, and half of them are startups. So we're actually doing what Rhian's talking about with coffee. I see this as an emerging trend with food, and today we're talking about kitchens and food. Tell me, where do you see that concept in the next 3 years? I mean, we see it already gaining great traction with coffee. Where do you see that shared dark kitchen concept in 3 years?
Well, there's actually a company up on the Sunshine Coast called Turbine that's in that process as we speak. They're building a facility where people can come along and do manufacturing, and it gives them the ability to actually go ahead and test their product, understand it, and then move out from that space so they can move into their own facility. Now, Fan Food Agricultural Network is up on the Sunshine Coast, and they work very closely with them. Nicole McNaughton's an absolute wealth of knowledge.
Fantastic.
And she works in that space collaboratively with businesses and works out a way that businesses can obviously utilize and work with other people so they get kind of that support from a local network, local entity that can tap into the ties of what everyone else has. Another thing that we used to do as well is a lot of manufacturers, and people don't know that, actually have the ability to co-manufacture, exactly like what you're doing. So it gives you that ability that if you want to test an idea, instead of having to invest into a kitchen as well, it is always a concept to co-manufacture with someone who's already producing a product to your specifications so you can test and trial. And it just allows you to get to market a lot quicker.
Yeah, some great takeaways there. And it comes back down to one of the key things in business performance is not over-investing on CapEx.
Correct.
So some great strategies there from Rhian, great ideas if you're thinking about starting your own or you're even looking at consolidating your own venue, because one of the things we're talking at the moment with people is, when they say, well, okay, well, how do I get myself out of the business and get working back on it? Well, shortening working hours. We tested it here on a Saturday at the Coffee Commune. We used to close at 3 p.m. We now close at 1 p.m. We save 2 hours of expenses, but we haven't lost $1 in revenue. People just simply come earlier. You've obviously got examples like that are happening. Your biggest advice to somebody right now who's listening to this and struggling in their cafe, what would you say to them?
I would look at other opportunities within revenue, honestly, and this is where you work collaboratively with other businesses. When I worked for Messina, that was one of the things that we did very strongly, is that we collaborated with businesses that were outside the realm of what gelato was, and it allowed a new revenue stream to be brought in. So we collaborate with closed companies. Yeah. Now, what does a closed company have to do with gelato? Not much, but it allows those people who are in that area, in that realm, who probably didn't think too much about gelato, to now do, hey, this is pretty cool. I like this idea. Now I can see these two brands coming together. I can come there. I support this clothes company because I like it. Now I can support these guys because I also believe in what they're doing, which is a similar ethos and similar idea to what they are. And collaborative work, I think, for businesses is where you get the best bang for buck and strength, because both you guys put a bit of skin in, both you guys put a little bit of something there, and you both walk away with something that's a lot bigger than what you originally put in at the start, because you're now tapping into two networks instead of one.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the key things there is you didn't go straight to saving money. You went to how do I boost revenue? And there's
Correct.
a key takeaway there for the listeners is Rhian's just gone straight in and said, how can you build more revenue? And funny enough, one of the biggest recommendations on the back of that research paper is everybody's disposable income has been affected. Now, it doesn't matter how much money you earn, whether it's $1,000 or $100,000 a week, everybody's disposable income has shrunk, and all the prices have gone up. So you've actually got this compounding fact. We are in a time right now where the strategy has changed. Prior to COVID, the strategy was how do I get the same amount of customers to spend more money, because there was lots of disposable income. We're now at a time where the disposable income's less, so we're seeing a 20 to 30% change and drop in disposable income. So per transaction, we're seeing 20 to 30%, and that's across high-end restaurants, cafes, and the whole lot. So the thing that stood out right there for me, Rhian, taps into my ethos and strategy right now, is that cafe owners need to work on how do I get more customers in the door, and a key way to do that is collaborations.
Correct.
Give us some other examples of collaborations that you've seen that are going well. Cafes partnering with different businesses.
But even you look at even the beer industry working exactly with even a lot of smaller cafes and even a lot of restaurants, and producing things that are very unique for that beer industry, flavor profiles, marketing, whatever it may be. And I've found that a lot with a lot of restaurants. They're pivoting away from, say, let's have a sit-down fine dining to now let's open it up to more of a bistro style where you can get people in more of a relaxed environment where, yes, you may get a little bit less on the bag spend because the amount isn't as large, but now you're getting a more consistent transaction because it's more affordable.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you're still working with your local producers, you're still working with your local markets, which I think is still one of the key factors that people want to support local.
Yeah.
They want to know that where they're getting the product from is come and grown here. They want to know that, Bob down there at the dairy has got his milk and it's coming straight to this person here. And working collaboratively in that space allows you to reach that extra mileage for what you're paying already. And also looking at what is that I guess that business space that you're currently working, maybe it is a pivot. Maybe it is a turn to what was people are now looking at, I can't sit here and do this. I need to now change slightly and mold and adapt to what the environment is.
No, you make some brilliant points, and of course, if you're working in your business, you don't have the ability to have that helicopter view. But more importantly, you don't have the time because you're stuck in the business. So the key is to get efficient. Whether that's your working hours, your footprint's another one. When square meters of cafes used to average 100 plus a square meter for a basic cafe. We're now telling people it should be 60 to 80 square meters. Opening hours, cafes used to open at 6 in the morning and go through till 6 in the afternoon. We're now seeing cafes, operate 6 till 12 or 6 till 2. So if you can get efficient like that and pull yourself out so that you can work on some of the strategies that Rhian's talking about. Collaboration is a big one, and it opens up your target audience to bring more people in the door, which is something that we should all be doing. The other one, coming back to it, is obviously the CapEx cost. Don't be buying equipment that you shouldn't be buying. Research the equipment. Work with experts like the Italian, Gelato Concepts. Make sure that anything you do buy comes backed with consultancy. And of course, if you can test your product before you start, then that's what you should be doing. Now, if somebody's sitting there saying, okay, I want to do this, the dark kitchen, the shared kitchen concept, what things should they look out for? Because I have heard horror stories around the world, where this has gone wrong. What are the key things from your experience that people should look out for?
I guess the biggest thing is understanding contracts and understanding exactly what is available to you. A lot of people don't read fine print.
Yeah.
And
I'm one of those. I'll put my hand up so I get somebody else to do it.
And fine print can be one of the things that really changes a lot of businesses. And this is where I think even for us, we work with finance companies who specialize in it, like the Silver Chefs of the world, who we know and everyone knows gives that flexibility for the customer. We don't do in-house finance. I don't think that really works for an importer. I think it's always...
You got to leave it to a specialist. I agree. Give it to Silver Chef or give it to somebody who specializes.
Correct. And I think and understanding what is available to you, and make sure you just just really dot the I's and cross the T's before you do it, and make sure that everything that's happening is to the T, and understand what's available within that constraint.
Yeah, it's like a partnership, right?
Correct.
And we've all heard horror stories, or we've all been involved in partnerships. I've done it twice. One was a bad experience, one was a good experience, and the difference was in the shareholders' agreement. It was all in the fine print. And again, I'm terrible at it, so I had paid somebody to do it for me. BDO, who's a great member here at the Coffee Commune, and Hill House Lawyers. We got them to do the agreements. It's all in the setup. So if you're thinking about that shared kitchen, dark kitchen, any sort of collaboration, I recommend that you need to be talking to people like Hill House Lawyers or BDO or these guys, or your own lawyers and accountants that are actually going to, set up the right agreement. Because I find this, Rhian, is that it's all rosy in the beginning. Better to get the nasty stuff out of the way when everything's rosy and happy. You don't ever want to be, you don't want to be setting up these agreements when things are not going well, right?
No, that's where things become more stressful, and everyone, you don't need extra stress in this current day and age.
Yeah, it is, and that's the thing. It is stressful. People are working harder than ever before, and hey, it's not doom and gloom. It's a cycle.
Yes.
Again, and I want to explore that a bit further next, right? Because a lot of people, and this was a scary statistic, over 70% of people in hospitality right now have been in the industry under 10 years.
Yeah.
Which means they haven't seen the cycles. So let's explore that a bit further. We know it's tough right now. We know labour's gone up. We know this is the first time ever. I've been in hospitality 34 years. This is the first time I've seen all the costs go up at the same time. We know all that, but so does the consumer. So I said the negative is also an opportunity, right? The opportunity is that the consumer and the customer knows that everything's gone up and they've got to pay a little bit more. And I've been making a lot of noise through our advocacy arm of the commune saying, if the customer's got to pay $5.50 or $6.50 for a coffee, and you should be happy to do that when you're paying $12 for a beer that costs $2.50. Right? But let's talk us through, if they do the work now, the next they come out the tunnel, and I say it's going to be, a good 12 months to 3 years before we get into that, really nice flying time again. It'll be about 3 years. What have they got to look forward to from someone who's been there? If you do the hard work now, let's give the listeners some hope. Let's give them that. What does the light at the end of the tunnel look like?
Well, I guess it's more the expenditure, the opportunities of looking into state, looking at even external exportation. There is a great opportunity, like TIQ really supports that massively. So if people are looking to try and get outside of Australia, because manufacturing, honestly, in Australia is
very
really
tough.
there. Honestly, we've lost a lot of it, unfortunately, and there is a lot of opportunity of expanding outside that space, especially if you're thinking smart and you're looking at what the opportunities are ahead. There is some big ones, and it's a matter of, again, looking at the likes of TIQ to get that assistance within that space, because there is people there to help.
And you've got the Olympics, and you've got the Olympics coming. A lot of people seem to forget, the Olympics is in 8 years. The work starts now.
Oh, correct. It was the same with Sydney. So my boss was going through the same thing down in Sydney when he was at Moffat, that he was saying to me that when the Olympics was coming in at that space, people were looking 8 years out. They're already preparing for it. They're already getting ready for it, because they know the compounding effect that's going to happen. And Brisbane alone, anyway, you look at how quickly Brisbane is growing. It's 20% year on year at the moment, where Sydney and Melbourne's only going to 3 to 4% increase. So Brisbane is expanding massively. People are wanting to live here. People are moving up here just because our lifestyle is different. It is a little bit more relaxed. We do have that opportunity, that there's more opportunities around us. And because we are growing so quickly as a city, that as long as you got everything lined up and your ducks are there, you will have a lot of big opportunities in front of you for expanding and moving into multiple sites or other opportunities within the business space. So it isn't doom and gloom.
But the work starts now, right?
Correct. It's setting yourself up for success. It's putting the right steps into play without overcapitalizing, without pushing too far, but making the right steps, working on the business, not in the business.
And building strong collaborations with people that can help you.
Because that type of work will set you up for the future, especially as businesses keep building as they are. That network of building with one business or another or multiple businesses allows you to keep tapping into new networks and keep expanding yourself out into other areas that you weren't currently in.
And the words I love that you use is continue. It's evolution.
Correct.
I say, we never get things great. It's always, like Jim Collins says, the journey of good to great. great. It's always about evolving. Tomorrow better than today.
We all make mistakes.
Yeah, we do. Of course we do. And if we don't make mistakes, we're not pushing hard enough.
And we're not learning either.
Yeah, and the key one is that if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And I think that's been the problem for a long time, let's be honest, And I was asked this on ABC Radio a few weeks ago, but why have we got so many cafes? I said, because for so long it's been easy to set up a cafe. Yep. Last year alone, I would have told over 40 people, don't risk your dollars unless you have, the three things I talk about, the magic sauce or the magic ingredients or the magic model, whatever you want to call it. Everyone's looking for magic. What problem are you solving?
Yep.
How are you going to be more relevant than your competition? And how are you going to tell the story better than your competition?
And I think a lot of people try and create the problem and solve it as well, which isn't the right way to do it.
No, because they're working from the inside out, not from the outside in.
Correct.
So you've got to work from that customer base. You've been in the industry long enough to see it. Rhian shared some wonderful experience and wisdom there. Please get a hold of the guys there. Reach out to Rhian. You'll see the details in the notes section, summary section of this podcast. He has been there and done that. He is working and has worked in at ground level and now works on the business with people. You need good people around you. We've seen it at the Coffee Commune. We're approaching 1,000 members now. Over a quarter of Brisbane cafes are now part of the Coffee Commune membership, which to me is exciting because it helps us help them accelerate their potential. Exactly. And as we say, now's the time to get the foundations right. Those that are doing well, and when I mean doing well, and no one's doing as well as they did pre-COVID, let's be honest, in our industry, in the hospitality industry, but those that are doing well comparatively are those that have laid the solid foundations. That's what we're finding. Those that are working on their business, those that are, obviously looking after their people, those that have diminished their footprint, that diminished their opening hours. Yep. They're not looking for cheap, they're looking for value, which is a key one. They are collaborating with people, and that's all the things that you've touched on and spoken about is where they go. Now, if you were setting up your own business right now, in a tough time, and we did it. We set up the Coffee Commune, and like I said, $20 million investment in the middle of COVID, and people thought I was mad. Why didn't I just go and retire and do nothing? And I said my wife would probably divorce me because I drive her mad. And I like being married, and I like my wealth as well. So that wasn't an option. But all jokes aside, I said if I'm coming back to this industry, I want to solve all the problems that I had in 2002 when I started DeBella Coffee, and that was I didn't have the capex, which is what we've been talking about today. I didn't have the education. I had to teach myself. I didn't have the buying power, so I was getting charged top dollar for ingredients and all the rest of it. I didn't have the advocacy, so I had to just cop the law changes and all the rest of it. Yep. And these are all the things that I just sort of went, you know what? We're going to flip that on its head, and change this and help people. And that's why we bring in experts like yourself that have been there and done that can share your wisdom, because what you're virtually doing is the same in the kitchen space. And the kitchen equipment, and of course you guys go much further than just that with the consulting, but that's in effect what you're doing, right? You're playing a part in helping cafe owners, restaurant owners, and not just cafe restaurants, but gelati and all kitchen, all food manufacturing become better tomorrow than today, and we love it. But if you're opening today, what would you be doing?
I would look at shared space, honestly. I'd look at setting up with other businesses to be able to solve the issue that business can't probably solve. So if they're, just say, for example, I'm opening a gelato business. Yes. The guy next to me wants to be a burger shop. I'd be the gelato business on the side. And I'd look at a shared space. Yeah, so we're both taking the risk, and we're both monetizing that risk between us. Yeah. And we're both capitalizing on a customer base that's in front of us. Yeah, that's looking for that full solution as they come in.
Yeah, complementary products, right?
Yep.
It's a great comment. And I actually see that. I was asked this many years ago before COVID, where do you see the future going in small business? And it wasn't a hospitality question, it was just small business. And I actually said co-working spaces and collaboration. 100%. We're seeing hairdressers do it. So we're seeing hairdressers, where the person's gone, you know what, I'm approaching my 60s, I've been a hairdresser for 20, 30 years, I only just want to look after my clients, and I've known of 3 cases where this has happened in the last 3 years. They buy the property, the freehold, they put 3, 4 chairs in there, and they rent out the other 2 chairs to other hairdressers that don't need the infrastructure costs, right? Yep. So it does work. There's hairdressing salons now with masseuse, massage therapists in there, and beauticians, and this concept's been going on for a long time in different industries. I think you're onto something, and we've been talking about it for years. I think that's where food's going. It is that gelato. I call it specialty retailing now.
Yep.
We went
That's
through
a very good time. Yep.
Well, we went through a time in Australia, as you know, that the cafe was everything. It did breakfast at lunch, at dinner, it did breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Breakfast, it was your traditional, bacon and eggs and, French toast, and some places got more fancy than others. At lunchtime, it was your Caesar salads and your grilled chicken and that. And then at night, they became bistros. Yep. That all stopped about 5-6 years ago, or probably longer, probably 7-8 years ago, and we've now moved into a space which I call specialty retailing. You go to your gelato shop for your gelato, you go to the pizza shop for your pizza, you go to the Chinese for your Chinese, you go to a steakhouse for your steak. Yep. So your concept of collaboration and co-working spaces would be brilliant.
Yeah,
so
what's diminished a bit nowadays, and even you look at the IGAs. Yeah. Like even some of the IGAs are starting to do that, where they're working with local businesses and supporting the local businesses with bakery sections that are just from that bakery right there. Yeah. Which is incredible. That's essentially a shared space.
Yeah, isn't that fantastic? So we're going to see more and more of it. It's something that you should get on the front foot if you're listening. And both, not only that, you could be operating right now and say, hey, I've probably got a bit too much space that I don't need. What can I put in here? What is a complementary specialty retailer that can come in and sublist the space?
Correct.
We've done it at the Coffee Commune, as you know, our kitchen. The great team from the old Del Ugo. And Nicola's been, Italian trained, 2 Michelin hatted chef from overseas, and amazing. He's now running the kitchen at the commune, and that's their own business within our business. We've done it with our space.
Which is beautiful, and that allows that person to be able to grow, and it gives them the opportunity they probably didn't have before.
Yeah, and limited risk.
Exactly right. And that's what everyone's looking at. How do I de-risk myself so that I can keep growing? Yeah. And it allows you to grow by doing that. Yeah,
Rhian, I'm going to hand over to you for closing comments. You've been a wealth of knowledge, some amazing takeaways. There will be, obviously, all the takeaways will get done by our wonderful producer, Gilberto. Puts them up on the summary, but I encourage you, don't just read that, listen to the podcast. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you are listening to the podcast. But I thank you, Rhian, for sharing your wisdom. You have been there and done that. You're still young too, so you've got a lot more to achieve. So we'll finish on this question. What's next for you in this industry?
I don't know. We just keep on going. We see where we head to. The big part of what we're doing now, that collaborative piece, is very intriguing for me, and the consultancy I'm really enjoying. I like to see businesses grow. I like to see people succeed. Yeah. It really gives me that bit of that warm and fuzzy, knowing that people are out there and doing good things and helping other businesses, especially local businesses.
Yeah, I'm hearing you, and that's what drives me, is helping people accelerate their potential. Could have easily gone and retired, but that's not me. I want to see, and I actually get a buzz. People say, well, where do you get a buzz in? Exactly like you said. Seeing somebody where they start, and then the journey along the way, and are they better tomorrow than today? But knowing that we are going to stumble at times. Hey, if we're not stumbling, we're not pushing hard enough.
Agreed.
So, Rhian, until next time, thank you again for your time. Listeners, reach out to Rhian from Italian Gelato Concepts. Wealth of knowledge, always happy to share his intel and his wisdom. Not only do they obviously procure and source and import great Italian equipment for kitchens and the rest of it, especially gelato equipment, but they also offer a whole heap of consultancy and advice, is what you can see. And that's the key to it these days, is that you can fast track your knowledge and your wisdom by tapping into somebody else's and collaborating. So don't use that as a buzzword. Make it part of your life. Collaborate with those that know more and do better. It's how I was brought up as a kid, and hang around people smarter than you and never be the smartest person in the room. And I love that. So again, Rhian, a big warm thank you from myself and from the team at the Coffee Commune. Until next time, you've been listening to Been There and Done That, and go and be the best you can be.
Thank you.
Well done.
Legend.
Nailed it.